What should be the design principle of an operating system? Monolithic or micro-kernel? All these proprietary operating systems are monolithic operating systems, where you keep on building the operating system in a very sacred manner without telling anyone what you are doing. And because you are so secretive about what you are doing, all the mistakes that you may commit there in your development never comes out. Only when you release the software out in the market, people will know, they start commenting, then you again go back, try to correct, because it is monolithic. The problem keeps increasing day by day. I thought that the solution for this problem lies in how free and open source software is being developed. What is free and open source software? There are two ways of looking at it. One is any software which has a free license or an open source license is a free and open source software, correct? That is one way of defining it. There is other way of defining it. Free and open source software development itself happens in a very different way. In a traditional software development environment, there is a project leader, a team leader, a programmer, a tester. What happens in free and open source software? It's a very chaotic environment. As Eric Raymond correctly said, it's a bazaar model. Right? It's a bazaar model. It's a very chaotic model. Nobody knows what is happening. Nobody asks anyone to develop. Somebody develops, somebody contributes the code. In ideal situation, this should be the perfect recipe for disaster. Nobody knows who is doing what. But unfortunately or fortunately for us, this has become very successful. Ubuntu releases its operating system once in 6 months, which is unthinkable in proprietary world. That means that development model should be better and not clearly understood than the proprietary development models. That is what I have investigated in my research. The results of my research are there in my website. I can't claim that I have answered all the questions, but definitely I have made some entry into this. There are very few people doing research in this area. I have communicated my results to most of them. In fact, one of the work that I have done was taking the framework developed by Professor Ostrom, who incidentally won this year's Nobel Prize for Economics. I had taken that professor's framework for understanding how free and open source software development works. I in fact communicated my results to her also, and she also said that the results looks very promising. I am continuing my research in different places, not definitely in MSRD. But the initial research seems to be very interesting, that somehow we now know that the whole system is not chaotic as it looks. There is definitely a very different model which is used there, but we still have to do much more research into how organization and people coordination happens. Right? So my focus is there. Anybody interested can join me in this particular area. So my whole argument is this, that software development methodologies itself needs a relook. What kind of process model we choose for development will determine what the outcome will be. So I reject all the traditional development methodologies and call for a fresh look in these areas. This is one argument which I had to make. The second theme that I want to discuss in today's class is basically an emerging way of developing and deploying systems. Basically, if you want to go for anything new clothes or something, you basically have only two choices. What are the two choices? One, go and buy it. Second is tailor-made. In software also the choices are only two. Either you go and buy available software, or you develop according to your specification. See why you buy, like clothes. Let's see my Kurta. You always will never get something which fits you very well. Because market minorities and other things, functions have identity. Then what should you do? See, every business organization will work in its own way. That means the process they follow in every organization is unique to that organization. Then how can they all use same software is a basic question. The general rule followed is 80-20 rule. If a software satisfies 80% of your requirement, go ahead and buy it. The 20% which doesn't match, you change the process. That is the ideal solution. Because only if 20% does not match, it does not make sense to develop a new software. Developing a new software always takes time. These two things are there. One is buying and another is developing. In software, the third model is emerging. What is the third model? Third model is you buy the software or you develop it. What is the third? No, that's okay. That I mean is a standard thing. There's something unique to software which is happening. Not actually unique, but yeah, something like that. Well, to make sense, let me start the argument like this. Computer software always has the basic problem. What is the basic problem of selling software? What is the basic problem of selling software? What? No, see, think from a manufacturer's perspective. You are writing software. What is your basic concern to sell software? Piracy. You give software to one person. You are not sure whether that person who buys software from you uses it or 10 people use it. This is one problem that somehow should have been answered early. See, please understand, this is not a problem unique to software. For example, newspaper. Newspaper, one person buys, 10 people will read it. That problem is there. Music industry. Right? Everybody had this problem. Every industry. Everybody tries to make some changes in their business models to accommodate them. How did newspaper cope up with this problem? Newspaper cope up with this problem by pricing their newspapers very low. See, we get our newspapers at 2 rupees 50 paisa, 3 rupees. What would be the cost of printing it? It would be some 8 rupees, 9 rupees. How do they cross subsidize us? Advertising. They take advertisements, cross subsidize the readers, make the price low so that more people buy and therefore they get larger advertisements. So that's a business model. Right? How did they cater this? How do they handle this problem in music industry? Long history is there. What did they do in computers? What were the early attempts to stop piracy in computers? Does anyone know? Software? You have never purchased a software. That's why you don't know. Serial keys, which can be broken. Everyone knows. There was one unique method which did stand the test of time. Very interesting model. I have such a machine actually. Many software used to come with a floppy. The software used to work only if you inserted that floppy, a physical level of control. It was not serial number. It was a floppy. Only if you insert the floppy, the software would work. Otherwise, it would not work. Kind of systems was there. Unfortunately, it has lost its place. And now, software piracy is a huge problem. How are people trying to control it? Of course, on the one hand, there is legislation and other things. But there is one solution which is emerging and it is very interesting to see how things will shape up in coming days. What am I talking about? Cloud computing and the emergence of software as service. It's a very interesting development. See, I am fascinated by two things. One is cable industry mobile phones. And of course, offline to DTH also. Why did cable industry become such a success in India? Why? Because the humble cable wala who brings the programs to your home takes 300 or 400 rupees from you. He has a way to take his share and distribute it to all of us. There is a winning one. It was not so in software. Because once you buy software, you never know what happens. What has happened today is because internet has become so very pervasive, and because today we think browser is the only software you need, the idea of computers is changing. Today you need not install any operating system. You know that? If you have browser, you can do most of your work. Most of your work. So the idea is this. Just like we subscribe to a channel in a cable TV, can we subscribe to software using these technologies? It is slowly coming out. I had myself tried such a model once, and it worked. The problem was that 14 engineering colleges in Karnataka wanted to use one software. What I did was, I installed a web-based system and I hosted it myself and took usage charges from each college, a nominal charge. It worked fine with everyone because unlike in earlier times when we had to go to each college, install the application there and go there and solve the problem, since it was web-based, they did not worry anything, they used browser to access the application and they had to pay me nominal charge for maintaining it. It worked very well. So I think this idea is something that all of us should really follow. If it becomes successful, the entire rules of the game will change. Even a small-time developer can develop an application, post it somewhere, take charges from interested people who want to use it. So the business model of large software corporations developing proprietary software may change if this idea catches up. It will be interesting to watch. Right? So the two themes that I dealt today, I will summarize. The first theme was that the software development methodologies needs a very serious rethinking because the foundations on which these ideas are based does not seem to be very solid. So some emerging software development technologies definitely requires a serious thought. Second, beyond buying and developing software, the third way of using software is emerging and we have to focus on. Right?